What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another Back for Blood deck build video, and today we're talking about the solo Act 1 Nightmare deck. Now, I had a couple of people in previous videos commenting down below about seeing a solo deck or different types of solo decks. Well, we've got one of the first ones here. This one is one that I can guarantee will go through Act 1, and I had someone specifically asking for a solo deck that didn't have anything or was good for every type of weapon, and with this deck we've got that. We've got solid damage with this deck, but nothing that's specific to any weapon. So as you make your way through that run, picking up any other type of weapon, you're still going to be dealing the same amount of damage based on whatever the damage is of that weapon. So if you find that upgrade, don't worry about switching it over and possibly losing that 10% from an AR or an SMG. We've got you covered right there. You've got all the damage you'll need, and with the help of the bots as well, you're going to be clearing these special infected fairly easy. Would make a note that you do want to keep more than a few of those bots alive, at least 2 at a time, for not only the fact that you need that ammunition from them that's going to be unlimited, they'll just keep dropping it every time you get low, but at the same time, as you progress through the run, they will have weapons that will increase in rarity, and their damage will grow, and they will be extremely beneficial for you. Now, with this type of run and this type of deck, we will be moving slowly through Nightmare. You want to move through each area, clear things out, make sure everything's good, stop, and take down some of those special infected instead of running past everything. Try to make some holdout moments. Those bots are going to be very helpful in some of these moments. Other times, they're going to be the bots. They're going to be unreliable. It's very frustrating at certain moments, but they seem very capable when the moments that they are reliable. But that being said, we'll get straight into the... or let me note one thing beforehand. When it comes to solo Nightmare, there are going to be some moments that are going to be very RNG. There's going to be a little bit of frustration here and there. I've already had it myself. There are some moments that are going to be a lot easier if you just go in with some randoms. I know sometimes that isn't exactly the best bet. Sometimes it's going to be some baddies, some little noobs that just came out of recruit. They don't really know what they're doing. They don't have decks built out. I've already dealt with most of this, and those Christmas noobs are starting to flood in, but not as much as you'd, or enough to completely ruin the game. But if you're really feeling like going through solos, there's going to be moments with breakers or ogres that are going to be random moments. There will be some breaker and ogre moments that are easy to handle. We've got those covered when it comes to some of these certain missions. I'll have some gameplay after this, showcasing how this made it through the first checkpoint, talk you through some of those troublesome moments when it comes to the solo Act 1 Nightmare. But that being said, let's get straight into the deck. Obviously, if you'd like to copy and paste this, I'll have it listed down in the description below in order by name. But we're starting off with the energy drink, just gaining 4 stats that are just going to be extremely beneficial at the very beginning. Just a well all-around card that's going to give us 15% stamina, 25% to weapon swap speed, 15% of that move speed while firing, and 10% slow resistance. It's going to help us out in some of those moments when we may get tagged by 1 or 2 of those common infected. Give us enough mobility to turn around, take them out, and then be able to get away faster. And right after that, we've got Hyper Focus, plus 50% weak spot damage. Now we're going to take a hit to our move speed while shooting with this. We'll want to utilize the ADS with this. Obviously, the hip fire is going to slow us down quite a bit, but we won't notice it all that much. This is going to give us all the damage we need to take out some of those special infected extremely quickly. Now, you will need to focus on that weak spot, because just hitting that special infected straight up without hitting the weak spot, your damage isn't going to be all there. Now, the bots will help out a bit, but if you really want to delete those special infected, hit them in that weak spot, guaranteed. Within 1 clip of just about any weapon besides the sidearms, it's going to be taking them down. Now, when it comes to Mad Dash, or the next card we have is Mad Dash, we're gaining that 20% sprint speed. Now, essentially, why we're doing this for the third card is for that second mission. We want to bypass the ogre at the first portion. We'll be able to kill the ogre later on very easily. You're going to be able to trap him at this certain doorway. I'll showcase that in the gameplay footage right after, talk you through that, give you the strategy on how to make it through some of these certain missions inside of the first act. We'll probably just go all the way up to the first checkpoint. But right after that, we've got Superior Cardio. We're gaining 20% stamina, 20% sprint efficiency, and 5 health with this card. This is specifically going to be for that mission right after that, where we have to go through the swamp, and then we've got the train yard. I believe it is called Pain Train, the name of the level. Essentially, what we want from this is the ability to kind of be able to run after we get the pile of gravel to give us the ability to jump over that train cart. Still frustrating that, wow, goodness. Still frustrating that we have to utilize that mobility in this one instance, but when it comes to solo, the bots aren't exactly the most reliable, and in this moment, you will need to hold out in one of 3 different locations. I'll run you through that in the gameplay footage after. But right after that, we've got Rhythmatic Breathing. We're gaining that 40% stamina because the 4th mission, the crossing, we need all the stamina we can get. This is one of those missions that even if you are just rolling through with a regular 4-man group, you kind of need to do this pretty quickly. And since you're on your own and there's only 1 bomb to plant, we just need to be able to make it across that bridge, work our way through the ferry, get across to the other side, grab that bomb, and then plant it and run back. We just want to utilize the stamina in this moment. We don't need all that DPS. We just need to be able to make it through swiftly and quickly, and hopefully not have to go through 4 other missions again if we fail right there. But one good thing to note is the fact that we do have those burn cards now that can give us an extra continue. So if you are having some of that trouble, that's one thing to add on top of it that could make this a lot smoother for you, not only for the 4-player co-op, but it will be substantially more useful when it comes to solos and some of those RNG moments where the bots just aren't helping you. Things get a little chaotic and you just can't come back from it. Right after that, we've got silver bullets. We're getting that 10% bullet damage across the board for every weapon, 15% effective bullet range, going to help us out with some of those SMGs or shotguns that possibly don't have that extended range like a marksman rifle or an AR. And right after that, we've got padded suit, 10% damage resistance, along with 5 health. We will take a hit to our stamina efficiency, but by this point, we have so much stamina, it's all we're really going to need. And a lot of the missions after this, we won't be utilizing that sprinting ability all that much. Only enough to gain distance between us and that special infected or common infected horde. Right after that, reload drills, 20% reload speed. Definitely need this in some of those moments when possibly one of the bots gets caught up by a special infected like a crusher or stalker. Sometimes you won't exactly have the full amount of damage to take them out at long range. Say if you're using that shotgun or something else, you may waste a few rounds. You want to be able to get those loaded as quick as possible and then be at the ready for any of those common infected or special infected you may be dealing with in that moment. Right after that, we've got Shredder. Each bullet hit causes the target to take 1% increased damage for 3 seconds, stacks up to 15 times. Now this will not be beneficial if you're using that sniper rifle, but if you do have the a sidearm with that sniper rifle, possibly a Tech 9 or full auto Glock, that's going to be extremely beneficial for you. Just tag up that special infected, get that 15% stack, and then switch over to that sniper rifle and start taking some shots. But for every other weapon, shotgun, AR, SMG, this is going to be extremely beneficial with that 15% damage. Right after that, we've got Screwdriver. We're starting off early, getting some of that use speed. We get the 50% use speed and 10% stamina. This is for the end of the act run. As we already know, when it comes to the howitzer, we need that use speed in order to load it as fast as possible. But when it comes to the howitzer, we only have to load 4 rounds. So it's not going to be as hard as it would be in regular Nightmare for a 4-man team. But we're still going to need to get that done as quick as possible. And we're just getting that done early, as well as giving us the ability to pry some of those bots off the wall. Obviously, they will die from time to time, especially Jim. For whatever reason, the bot Jim, he's a sniper, but he runs straight into the action of everybody, and sometimes he just stands there in front of a crowd of common infected, letting himself get hit until he gets downed without even firing a shot. Or he'll just run straight up to the bruisers and try to snipe them and get crushed immediately. I'm not sure if there's something wrong with the Jim bot or whatever his coding is, but he seemed to love to get himself hurt and downed a lot. But that's going to help us in those moments with opening boxes, pulling them off the wall, pulling them up from the ground as well, and using any of those pain pills or healing accessories as well. Now, right after that, we've got Cold Brew Coffee, giving us another 15% reload speed, 25 to our aim speed, a little bit more of that weapon swap speed. It's going to be especially useful, the weapon swap speed, if you're losing my train of thought here. If you're using a sniper rifle with a secondary, like the Tech 9 or full auto, trying to utilize that shredder with that, you want that weapon swap speed to be as fast as possible. This will be 50% up by this point with the combination of the energy drink. If you are using a sniper rifle, you could obviously throw this up higher. somewhere in between reload drills and shredder, or possibly even higher up than that if that's what you're trying to go for as a sniper build. Me personally, I'd rather go for a shotgun, an AR, or an SMG. SMG to be the highest amount of mobility with this build, but at the same time, right after that, we've got an additional 25% use speed, which is going to be even more beneficial for that last mission in Act 1. Now, right after that, we're gaining Numb. We want a little bit more of that damage resistance. The bots are going to help you clear some of these common infected and special infected, but sometimes things can go pear-shaped. Say you hit a car or some type of door, there's a fog effect, you just didn't see them, you randomly hit birds. Some moments can go pretty poorly at certain times, and possibly all the bots died. You're going to have to fend for yourself. You want that additional 15% damage resistance, and will always be carrying pain pills, because a lot of times the bots will heal you with whatever they have available for them. I know Mom's going to give you pain pills, Holly's going to heal you for health. If you got Walker with you, he's going to give you the first aid kit. It's good things to note, as well as the probability of each one of these is going to be randomized when it comes to the actual bots now. You won't get a set standard of 3 different characters. It's always going to be a random mix. And one thing to note about that is you definitely want to try and re-roll until you finally get that Carly as a bot character that'll be playing with you, because she will give you an additional 50% use speed to the entire team and you. That's going to be extremely beneficial for the end mission, but I did not have one. With this deck, you'll have more than enough use speed, but that could be even more beneficial for you later on. Right after that, we've got Fanny Pack. We're getting that support inventory for one of our slots. It's going to be extremely helpful. Give us the ability to heal up twice if we need be, or possibly just have it stored for later on. Or if you didn't have enough copper, which generally in solos, you'll have more than enough copper for everything you need at the start of each mission. But in, say, one of those moments where you had to make the trade-off and buy a team upgrade that was going to benefit you more, and you didn't have enough for that second one, at least once you get out into the field or out into the run of the mission, you find one of those supply crates, you find an additional pain med or possibly 2 bandages, maybe you already ran out of the pain meds, you'll be able to stack up on whatever healing accessories that you may need. And by this point, more than likely, you've already gotten an additional slot from the team upgrades for the support inventory. So this is just going to benefit us, give us a bit more of that survivability later on down the road for one of those rough patches that may happen. Now, grenade pouch right after that, we've got our offensive inventory. By this point, you could trade this one out. If you make it to Hell's Bells before you get to the grenade pouch card, you may want to throw that on there. It's going to be very beneficial, especially at the beginning. I know a lot of people like to utilize that glitch for getting over the minigun and jumping over before the semi has been pulled over. I don't do that one. I know it's going to be patched soon enough, so I wanted to maintain the strat that I have, make sure that I was able to make it without needing to use that minigun or possibly jump over that by jumping from the truck as well. Don't need that. Going to be able to kite myself around. I'll showcase that in a video later on. And I've already used that tactic in a previous video for Act 1 Nightmare as well. But it's extremely beneficial. It's going to give you some of those moments and give you a moment to save one of those pipe bombs for the very end when you have to board up those windows inside of that church, which is very frustrating. Probably arguably one of the harder missions in the later portion of Act 1. But right after that, we've got MultiTool. This is going to be for the final level. We'll get that 75% use speed, and we'll take a hit to our damage resistance. But by this point, we should have multiple offensive inventory slots to give us that ability to throw some of those pipe bombs, keep everything off of us, and maintain as much use speed as possible to get those shells in, fire them off, and get out of Act 1 completely, making our way into Act 2. Now, that's going to be the solo Act 1 Nightmare deck. Obviously, this is something that you could change up a few cards. Me personally, when it comes to 1 through 5, I feel very strongly about those cards. Those are going to be extremely strong for you going forward right there. After that point, the only 2 cards that I see as absolutely necessary are going to be Screwdriver and MultiTool for that final portion with Howitzer. But by all means, you can trade out anything that you want. If you're looking for something more for an SMG damage, an AR damage, sniper damage, shotgun damage, you can throw those in. By all means, take some of these out. Maybe Fanny Pack. Possibly, I would keep Cold Brew Coffee in. Possibly Shredder for something else. Or even take out Fanny Pack and Grenade Pack. or Numb as well. You could do that. You're just going to have less damage resistance at that point. But if you have any questions about this, and we'll get into the first portion of Act 1 right after this in the gameplay footage, I'll showcase some of the strats that I use to make it to that first checkpoint. If you'd like to see the rest of the gameplay from Act 1 in Solo Nightmare, let me know down in the comments below if you want to see that full-fledged. I will do a second video for the second checkpoint, talk about some of those key moments. I won't exactly go through the entire thing. I'll just look at the key, or show you the key moments that I feel are a bit problematic, what you can, what type of strat you can use in order to make it through that portion. And that's just going to make it the smoothest possible run you can make through Solo Nightmare. Now, things are going to happen. It is Nightmare. There is a bit of RNG that is involved. Some things can go wrong. I've already had things go wrong, and it was very frustrating. But at the same point, it is definitely easier than it once was. I will still recommend that you go through as a 4-man team, but if you have to go through solo, or you just want to after playing with some bad randoms, by all means, this is going to be that perfect deck for you going through Solo Act 1 that I can guarantee give you one of the smoothest, or at least problematic runs for Solo Act 1. But that being said, we'll get straight into the gameplay. If you'd like to catch some of this gameplay live, obviously hit that link in the description. Follow me over at Twitch. If you have any questions about this, let me know down in the comments below, or come over and ask me at Twitch as well. Just hit that link in the description. But let's get straight into that gameplay, give you some strats on how to make it to that first checkpoint inside of the Solo Act 1 Nightmare. This may be beneficial for some people as well that haven't made it through Solo, or haven't made it through Act 1 in Nightmare already. Maybe you just want to gain some tips, see how you could utilize that with some random teammates, or possibly your own teammates that you have. But we'll get into that straight away. Alright guys, so we're at the second mission of Act 1 right here. Only going to do some of the strats that you possibly need that I know are going to be problematic for some people, maybe needing some help when it comes to the solos method of moving through the Act 1 Nightmare. Now, again, if you'd like to see the full gameplay of this, or the full gameplay of Solo Act 1 Nightmare, let me know down in the comments below. More than happy to share that footage with everyone. But I'm going to kind of minimize it down. We're not going to show every bit of Act 1. I'm just going to go through some of the strats that I utilized in some moments that were a bit problematic for me, or I think that are going to be problematic for other people. Just give you those type of tips that are going to help you move through in as smooth a manner as possible through this run. But on to Act 2, or Act 1, Tunnel of Blood, second mission right here, when we first deal with the Ogre. Obviously, one thing to really note about the Solo Nightmare experience, now you can kind of slowly push through. You definitely want to. You want to clear things out. You want to look around. You want to grab copper as much as possible. You want to have and maintain that copper supply, about 1,000 between each safe room. But at the same time, with going through slowly, looking around every corner, grabbing all that copper, you're going to have more than enough to grab that team upgrade, possibly 2 of them at the same time, and fully restock everything that you need for that next run. But when it comes to the Tunnel of Blood mission, essentially what we're going to do is clear everything out. We're going to have a pipe bomb, pain meds, and a toolkit. Essentially every mission inside, or every chapter of the Act 1, when it comes between safe room to safe room, you want to grab a toolkit instead of a stun gun. You want to gain all the goodies out of those toolkit rooms. You want to gain that copper. You want the ability to heal if anything went wrong in between there, and the possibility of weapon attachments or weapon upgrades is going to be much larger with those opportunities available to you. But like I said before, we're moving slowly through. We're kind of looting everything up. And what we're essentially going to do is get over here, drop the pipe bomb, and then start running through. Now, generally, people run all the way through. The Ogre's not moving that fast, though. I feel as though it's a lot easier if you kind of go midway through, start taking out everything in front of you, because by the time you make it halfway through here or close to that door, you're going to be out of sprint. You're not going to be able to melee as strongly. And like you can already see in front of you, we've got charred zombies right here. So the second they even get close, we're taking some damage. We're getting slowed down. And it only takes 5 or 6 of them to completely surround you and just ruin the run right there. Completely deplete your health down to 25%, if not already getting downed. And in that moment, with the Ogre slowly pushing behind you, the bots aren't really going to be that reliable in picking you up in that moment. But with that being said, the Ogre is going to move slow enough so that we can get that done right there. take out everything in front of us, smoothly transition into this room, be able to loot everything up, and then make our way to the second encounter with the ogre, which is what we're going to skip to now. Essentially everything in between that. Again, just move slowly through, take everything out. It's going to be a smooth ride. Grab the toolkit room around the corner. It's always going to be in the same spot right there. Gain some health, gain some weapon upgrades possibly, and then we'll make our way to this room right here. And this is where we're going to have the second encounter with the ogre. Now, a lot of people generally try to speed run past this. They'll go along that left wall on top of the vehicles and make their way through the end of the tunnel. Not sure if recently this is something that has changed to try and fight against speed runners, give it to be a more challenging experience. You can essentially run all the way to this point and have a pipe bomb at the ready, run all the way down there, throw it off to the right, and then just try to speed it on through. You could do that, but there is quite a bit of copper inside of this room as well. If you would like to gain that, I'm going to show you the strat on how to make this as smooth as possible, because essentially when it comes to that speed running strat, anything could go wrong. It could be a hawker, a stalker, giant horde of common infected could just latch onto you, grab you, and then the rest of them are going to pile on and completely finish you at the end of that tunnel. Whereas with this strat, it's going to be the least problematic. It's very easy, may take a little bit more time, but you're going to have the availability to go through here, not take any damage at all in some instances. Obviously, with some of the common infected or special infected pouring through, you may take a bit of damage here and there. And if you're not exactly on your toes, with a solid aim and making sure everything is proper, then you may take some damage. But as you can see before you, I did hit a snitch in this moment. Just head into this hallway, or if you have one of those moments where you possibly have a horde on timer as a corruption card, this room's going to be excellent. A lot of times the bots will cover one angle or possibly even two angles in some instances, but a lot of times I try to just cover one myself. They'll take care of everything behind me, as long as they are behind me. If they move in front of you, you're going to need to turn around. Obviously, they're not getting their job done, but in those moments when they're behind you, they're going to act as meat shields. And, well, there goes Jim again, standing in front of me. These are things that are going to happen with the bots, and it can be very frustrating. But essentially, we'll call the ogre. As you'll notice, he's already taken about 25% of his own health away. By the time that we meet him the second time, if he doesn't have any of that health taken away, all we have to do is 50% damage to him, essentially half of his health bar, just like how you would have in the very beginning if you were in a 4-player co-op. You just take that ogre down to halfway health and then be able to proceed forward from the safe room if you've used that strat before. But essentially right here, we've just got him locked in place. We're not going to have any special infected or common infected rushing us. Now, occasionally, on the left side, the room on the left of me right here, sometimes 1 or 2 special infected may drop down if you're taking a bit longer than you should on this. But that's all that will drop in. It's very easy. You and the bots will take care of it very effectively. You'll more than likely hear them dropping down as well, so it won't be much of an issue. You've got plenty of room to move around or backpedal in order to get some space between you and that special infected, and then get straight back to taking the ogre down. Now we'll kind of skip forward here. As you saw before, he already had 25% of his health down. And I believe, yeah, right there, as you'll notice, it's essentially that 50% mark minus that 25% he already had taken down. And now he'll be leaving, and we'll be able to go through smoothly, easily, slowly clear everything out, check the cars for any of that copper, and we won't have much of a problematic experience because we're in a large open area. We'll be able to see anything coming, and we'll have a line of sight on anything that may be running at us, be able to lay down that damage easily, effectively, and with as minimal damage taken as possible. Now let's go straight into Pain Train. Pain Train is a very irritating one. Like I said before, if you want to see more of the, or if you want to see the full gameplay, let me know down in the comments below. Let's move on to Pain Train. Alright guys, when it comes to Pain Train, the most irritating portion is just going to be the train yard itself. Getting to the train yard is going to be a lot easier now. I used to have issues with it when I was speedrunning, but now that we can effectively move slowly through, take everything out, take all the special infected out, common infected, loot around, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Trust me, you're going to make it to the train yard just about every time, unless there's a breaker or an ogre spawning. that can be an issue. I did have a breaker spawn one time. Again, one thing to note about those breakers, make sure as soon as he, or as soon as somebody aggroes him, make sure you're outside of that circle so you have that free range mobility, because that can be one of those things that's a solo rip run right there. A breaker, the bots just don't seem like they can take on those breakers or ogres quite as well as a 4-man team. But when it comes down to once you hit the control panel over at the train station, in order to drop that gravel to get over, you're going to have that horde called on you. It's going to be that like infinite horde constantly going. I don't know if it's exactly infinite horde. It feels like now it just never ends until you make it to the safe room. But we've got 3 different strats that you can utilize with this. This being one of the places you can hold out. Let me make sure that you see this properly, because this one is a strat that somebody else told me about. I personally enjoyed it for the oncoming horde when it came to the horde timer, but when it came to hitting the panel and letting the gravel fall down, a lot of special infected started to drop in front of me, specifically tall boys and bruisers. And in that moment, as you can already see, I'm crouched into a position that is not easy to get out of. It's going to trap me in that corner. That is the type of thing I kept running into, but they made it through with that method, and I'm only showing this method, even though I did fail with it. If you fail with the other 2, maybe this is going to have better luck for you. But we got to give you all the options here. But let's move on to the second option. Now, the second option is one that I didn't get to test out all that well, but I believe it could be beneficial. Now, essentially with this room, it's going to be the same room that you always find that healing station at. I pulled the bots over here. Now, one thing to note about this position is that zombies will drop through that little hole in the roof right there, but it's only going to be one at a time. They just kind of flop on down. So you'll be able to kind of line up from that left side, hit them, as well as anything that's coming from the other angle. Now, I believe the reason this run went poorly was the simple fact that Walker just couldn't catch up. Things didn't quite go as well since I had to keep pushing out. I had more coming behind me. So in these instances, this can be very problematic. And as you notice, the bots started rushing out to try and go res him. Even Doc's still trying to get out there and res him. And all the while, they have more of the common infected piling behind them. They're constantly taking damage. It's just extremely frustrating. And by this point, I started to try and just make my way on through. But I believe I made it. I'm trying to think. Yes, I did make it on through, so this strat can work out. The problem is also, as soon as you make it over this, you're going to want to have that second pipe bomb. I wish I never threw it, because as soon as you jump through this window, you're going to need to immediately throw a pipe bomb off to your right. Like you can already see, I'm just getting surrounded. There's more pushing through from the other side as well. I had that exploder right there on me. Essentially, by this point, we're going to need to run all the way on through. Now, let's get into the third strat that worked perfectly for me, and I'll show you the finish of the pain train mission as well, because I know this is going to be very problematic for some people. I had a problematic. This is pretty much the hardest portion, getting to the first checkpoint inside of Act 1 Nightmare, arguably one of the hardest portions of the entire Act 1 besides one other mission. Alright guys, the third strat that was the one that worked like a charm, I had the pipe bomb at the very end, was going to be the toolkit room. Now this is not always going to be available to you. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this will also work. If you possibly get to this point, you walk outside that safe room at the very beginning and you see that toolkit room at the right. If you quit right there and then load back in, not 100% if this works, but it may work. It could possibly change where the toolkit room is. If you spawn in again, you won't lose that continue, and you'll still be able to run in and then just immediately check whether or not that toolkit room is there. But if you do have the toolkit room that's all the way at the train yard, this is one of the perfect positions to just kind of hold everything out. As you can see, Jim, our resident horrible bot, is right there at the doorway, locking everything out from us. And then Holly, for whatever reason, saves him, and he immediately dies when he could have just been a doorstop for longer and should have been. But Holly's a good person, or a good bot, apparently. But anyways, as you can see, this is very, Very simple right here. We're able to keep everything at bay, maintain this doorway. There's nothing that can rain down on top of us or come up from behind us. We can choke point everything. And essentially, you're close enough to where you can kind of get the angle from the left side over here to look over and see if that gravel is done. But as you can see right here, very easy. You're able to get everything done. The bots seem to stay inside fairly well. It's not always going to happen, but now we've got Holly as the doorstop, so she's going to continue to keep those common infected at bay as well as special infected. Sometimes you will find grenades in that toolkit room as well. That can be extremely beneficial. But this is one of those moments where I kind of felt like, it just kept going. I felt like the common infected were still coming. Maybe there was only a few left. But by that point, I knew it was done. I was able to run out. And like I said before, once you get straight to this point right here, I even had a sleeper waiting on me immediately through that. We've got a tall boy and a reeker right there. But by this point, use those pipes on the left side, move up on through, kind of check around for sleepers. You definitely don't want to get hit by that again, especially if you're Evangelo and you've already got that cooldown running. But that's going to be the easiest way to make it through Pain Train. That's going to be the 3 different methods you can utilize. When it comes to the final mission, when it comes to the crossing, if you want to see that full gameplay, let me know down in the comments below, but I feel like that one's pretty much point A to point B. All you have to do is just continuously run to the end. That's going to be the tips for this video when it comes to just making it to that first Act 1 checkpoint inside of Nightmare Solo. I'll do a video tomorrow on making it to the second checkpoint, where it's kind of doing the same thing along these lines of just going through some of the more frustrating moments throughout some of those missions that'll be problematic for some people and how to make it through that. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this may have helped you out. Maybe this is going to help you to make it through some of those moments, or possibly utilize this deck for some of those nightmare characters that you want to get that SWAT suit for. This is one of those decks that you could arguably use with just about any one of the cleaners. If you're looking for something like that, this deck's going to be the one, and you can utilize those burn cards instead of having to use Evangelo in order to have that breakout ability, which is fantastic. That's why this deck is one of those that you can utilize for just any one of those characters if you need those checkpoints made for the nightmare difficulty in order to make it to that SWAT suit. But that being said, hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.